Hey there, boys, girls, and flying squirrels. My name's Joe Keyport, and you're listening to the Ear Coffee Podcast. For this week's episode, I spoke to probably the spookiest band Ear Coffee has ever interviewed. I talked to Holly Axelrod and Cody Bordeaux of Wax Led. This band put out one of my favorite singles of 2019, Honey on the Moon, as part of a split with the DC-based post-punk and goth rock band Luna Honey. During our conversation, Holly and Cody discussed what it's like to be a goth rock band in Minnesota, the food allergies that serve as inspiration for their new single, their zine, The Dark Times, and also during the interview, Cody mentioned a gig that happened in November, which has unfortunately passed. However, they will be playing a gig on December 27th at the Black Forest Inn as part of a zine release not related to them. So if you get a chance to see them, definitely go do it. But without further ado, it's Cody and Holly of Wax Led right here on the Ear Coffee Podcast.
This is always where we let somebody else be like, oh, they sound like this and this together.
Yeah. I say a gloomy punk band.
Okay.
It's, kind of convenient that post-punk is big. That sort of gives us a, I don't know, something
term
to latch onto. But, we have these ballads and piano songs, and we have these punk songs, and we have these sort of like ambient noise soundscapes. So it's kind of tough, but yeah, post-punk is the easy way to say something in an elevator.
Yeah, because your most recent, or one of the songs you put out through like was it the Punks to the Bone compilation? That one's almost way more punk rock than like some of the other stuff on like Husband Lord Master and obviously Honey on the Moon, which you just put out. So
yeah, that's one of our more. I think that's one we wrote. Well, we were in a different band together, but I mainly wrote it on guitar while I was trying to learn guitar.
Yeah, gotcha.
So it was very, very early on in me like experimenting with how to actually perform guitar and sing at the same time because I don't multitask very well. So yeah, punk was kind of what came out of that learning curve, and that song is sort of a good reflection of that. So we thought that would be a good one to put there.
Gotcha. So kind of going back a little bit. So before Wax Led formed, when did you both start playing music, and how did the band as we know it now come together?
Oh boy, well, you better start this one off because you've been in it longer.
Yeah, I started playing music in '97, and I hadn't really listened to music at all growing up. I had some Steve Martin comedy tapes and like some Weird Al, and that was it. And I lived in a small house, and everyone in my family listened to music. I had 3 other siblings, and it drove me nuts, and I just wanted like peace and quiet. And I played Nintendo, so I got, I guess, music of a sort through that.
Yeah.
And then I was a depressed teenager, and my sister gave me like some punk and dark music, and I started plunking along on bass. And started playing in a band within a year or so.
Okay.
How about you?
I spent years of my life, I guess, just listening to music with my door closed, and, like dressing up and singing in front of my mirror with a hairbrush.
Nice.
And I got kicked out of a lot of different like play auditions in school because I just had a voice that was not going to work for being a lead person. I always got these male villain roles, and then I would eventually just not go to the play practices. But yeah, for a long time, I thought I couldn't really sing. So I picked up the tuba when I was in middle school, did that for a while. Can't say I remember how to play it at all because I think I faked my way the entire time I was doing it. But I kept begging my mom for guitar lessons for like years and years. And I think she bought me like a handful of them when I was like 18 or 19. I finally just like sat down and did 2 lessons, and I was like, screw this. I just want to make music how I hear it. And kind of from there, I just started joining random metal bands because that was all I could find on Craigslist, and I'd quickly get kicked out with the name Holly Axelrod. They thought I was a guy with a cool stage name, and it's all downhill from there.
So then when did Wax Led come together?
I think winter of 15, 16.
Okay.
Holly had a band with a drummer, and they and a sort of bass player who was on their way out, and they saw me at a goth show and thought I looked like a guitar player. And they walked up to me and asked if I played a guitar, and I said, well, no, but I own a guitar and a guitar amp, and I know 10 chords, so I guess that makes me a guitar player.
Yeah.
And so I came in and played guitar for one practice, and then their bass player moved on, and they said, yeah, you're not going to play guitar, you're going to play bass.
Yeah.
So we played together for a year, and we were called Holly and the Varlets. And and then we kind of broke up, and maybe 5-6 months later, Holly and I started playing again and called it Wax Led.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Did you find, because Evan, you mentioned before we started recording, because he drums for Partition now, but he used to be in the band, and he recorded parts of Honey on the Moon, right? Or
I think that's him. Yeah, that's all of him.
Okay.
Right.
Was he part of the original, that original band, or no?
It's a different drummer from a band I was in for a couple minutes, and it dissolved, and then me and the drummer at that time just saw Cody at a show and tried to make more music.
You can hear a demo from that early formation on Holly's solo CD we just put out of her EP and some demos.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah.
So how quickly after forming, so if you formed in when did Wax Led officially become Wax Led? Because you said you've been playing together since 2015, 2016, but
we I think put up the Bandcamp. Well, we I would say January 17 is the official start date.
Yeah, because it was sort of the two of us, and then we just sort of committed to it being the two of us, and then we would just continue on until we found more members, I think, because we stripped it down from our kind of rock and roll three-piece to doing a piano ballad in basically the attic of our house. So, I mean, it got just totally flipped around, and in a cool way, we were writing in a totally different way.
We did our first show, I think, in March with a temporary drummer who just played the first show with us, and then we did a second show as a duo.
It just sort of kept going. Yep.
So then slowly you added members. How are you finding people to add to what we have now as the Wax Led kind of live band, and what we see now as the band?
Boy, we just kind of... I remember grabbing Evan because I remember Evan from, a couple years back when I lived here, and my high school boyfriend knew him as kind of a neighbor kid who would kind of hang out and talk music with my then boyfriend, and he was always just sort of around.
Gotcha.
And he was like, hey, why don't you drop Evan a line? You guys are looking for a drummer. And I was like, oh my God, that's right. Oh my God, Evan is still alive. So I dropped him a line, and he was a really good drummer for, as long as he wanted to be in it. And it was great recording with him. It was a gem. So.
We've been kind of lucky to just find friends and people who are really patient, kind, good people. And then we got Joe Hastings, and then Evan moved on, and we had played a show with Trinity Test, and their guitar player Aaron Anderson also plays drums. And,
yeah, he's like, if you guys ever need a drummer, and I was like, oh, hold the phone, dude, maybe.
And then and then Joe Hastings was getting busy with other things, and our drummer knew Sammy Sadie.
Yeah,
and, so he's come in recently. It has been tough to have these changes every time somebody comes in. It kind of there's a month or two of sort of learning and catch up there.
Yeah,
but it does give room to the sound is different every time someone sort of joins or leaves, and I kind of like that fluidity because it adds a layer that we can't even recreate, which has been frustrating and sometimes, but it allows every member to have a little bit of their own pizzazz on it, which is, I think, quite rewarding if you're in this band because you have to deal with the two of us. But
yeah, because Cody, you and Holly, you both handle the main writing duties with the band, and then kind of bring it to everybody else to arrange it, or how does that work?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like maybe you've been reading liner notes. Yeah.
Maybe a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's that sort of collaborative arrangement has been happening more recently. Like Honey on the Moon was one of the first that really clicked and worked. I'd been dragging some of those riffs around for a long time, and Joe had joined, and things just fell into place with him and Evan.
Yeah, that song just sort of was a good balance of everyone putting in exactly what they wanted to, and it working out. Because sometimes we do that and we're stuck on songs for a really long time.
But now Sammy has a song that he's brought in and we're working on, and Aaron Anderson is a lot more willful and opinionated, and so he really kind of makes sure that
things come out sounding decent.
Yeah, when he has opinions, he makes himself heard. So it's cool.
It is cool. Yeah. Yeah.
So you put out your debut EP, Husband, Lord, and Master, in December of 2018. So kind of tell me about writing and kind of bringing that release together. Because listening to it, it definitely feels like your reference and even the title to like one person and like a loss of a relationship or something, or like an unequal power dynamic or something. So tell me about that and like the themes. Is it one kind of story, or what's kind of that about?
I mean, it is sort of open to interpretation because these songs are just sort of a collection of things we've written that we felt like we could record and that sounded good together as an EP. I think when I was writing lyrics at that particular time, I was sort of dealing with a transition of my lifestyle and like the people I was kind of, getting rid of in my life. It was sort of, I don't know, a selective process of who is going to stay and who's going to leave. But a lot of my, I guess my just sort of fermenting and did I do right, did I do wrong is sort of coming out in the lyrics. And even though it's not necessarily about my life, it does take a narrative in that direction, I think, because I can't deny writing about my experiences. But I think it builds its own story with characters that are not unlike myself, but, very... I don't know, very, I guess, narrative in that direction. Are they meant to be connected? No.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
I think some of the choices on Husband, Lord, and Master are a conscious effort to do something abrasive in Minneapolis. We had recorded 8 or 9 songs, and I've been in some bands in the past that really worked hard on getting the first LP out as the first step, and spent way too long working at it, and it made it a kind of painful birth for a first band, a first release. So we had recorded all these songs, and I was like, it's gonna take forever to get this done. Let's just get something quick and attainable out and take 4 of them and get started. And so the songs on Husband, Lord, and Master are sort of the easier arrangements, and the songs that were more straightforward to mix. There's only one piano song on it. We had several others recorded, and those will probably end up on something else. But yeah, I think the title...
I just love that title.
Oh, it's a great title.
Yeah, I kind of wish it was a title of a longer thing we'd put out. Maybe it will be. Because I just love having people say our EP's name to us. It gives me such joy. Like Husband, Lord, and Master. For people to just address that as something we've created and just say it out loud, to me, it's so wonderful. It's such a buzzy, it triggers so much, but at the same time, you're so curious about what that really means.
Yeah, people don't forget it, and it's not very Minnesotan.
No. And just having T-shirts that say it on. My dad bought a T-shirt like trying to support us, and I was like, "Yeah, Dad, nice Husband, Lord, and Master shirt." He's like, "Oh no, that doesn't say that, does it?" But he still wears it. He's like, "It's the most comfortable shirt. I can't help it." So I thought that was good.
You mentioned you wanted to put out something abrasive and how this isn't very Minnesotan. What do you mean by that? Because like thinking about it, like the kind of Ear Coffee itself really doesn't always cover a lot of the goth, and even like my own, as I start to learn more and more about local music and like really dive in, the goth and like the dark wave, kind of like post punk is something I didn't really know existed here until I saw the Crushed Velvet music video. Like, how is that as like a band like this in Minnesota and Minneapolis and this kind of the scene?
It's a little bit lonely. I think it would be a little bit easier if we were, in Chicago or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of kind of, garage rock stuff and singer-songwriters and great music around here. But
what was the quote by Mark Malman that he said to us? It was so good.
Mark
nice
Malman
hip-hop
said something like Minnesotans listen to nice hip hop and singer songwriters.
Yeah, and if you're not in those two categories, people don't know where to place you. I think they're not quite sure if they like what they hear, or if they're afraid of it, or it's very interesting because every time we perform, there's a certain facial expression that comes with our entire performance, and I used to think people were just insanely disturbed or worried, and it sort of just looked like people were worried. And then now, as we're playing these shows more often and we've just done it enough in the city, I just realized people are just captivated, and whether or not that's good or bad, it doesn't really matter. We're holding attention in a world that doesn't necessarily have that much attention to give for anything. So it's been interesting to kind of ride this wave of almost uncomfortableness with our audience and people that don't know what to make of us, because we don't really have a scene that we fit in Minnesota.
We've started fitting in. I think we've found some more like minds in town this last year. I mean, there's a good shoegaze scene. There is a good DJ scene. There's some industrial bands, and it's been nice to sort of play with more of those. And it's really, I don't know. I'm really glad that while we don't fit in comfortably, we can also kind of play with anybody.
Yeah.
And, we started out playing with Kiss the Tiger and Harper's Jar for our first show, and we've played with Mark Malman and Trash Caddies on one hand, and then we've played with a Dark Energy event and industrial bands. So it's kind of liberating to just play with whoever likes
totally
us and wants to
liberating.
share a stage and not be too constrained.
Yeah. You're not stuck at the singer-songwriter night at one of the endless amounts of cafes, or stuck kind of playing punk bars or whatever.
Yeah, we kind of get the ability, because we've played punk basement shows. We've been able to play kind of those almost unplugged acoustic things. It's cool that we could do it all.
It has been hard to. We had to realized some things we were doing weren't really working when we started. We brought the piano everywhere, and setting up a keyboard and a sampler in addition to all of the guitars, at a bar show when there's four bands hustling on and off stage, was just a lot of work, and it never sounded great. So now we kind of pull that out if we have a proper venue like Ice House to do a sound check. And then if we're at a dive bar, we'll just rock it with guitars.
Nice.
As soon as you bring out the keyboard and I sit down in a blazer, you lose all the punks. They're out, man. They're not trying to listen to all that.
Well, I think they'll stick around and they'll dig it, but it just
they'll be looking at the clock.
No, it's just not the right venue. It's noisy. It takes extra time.
Yeah, there's definitely a time and place, because
there's not room for it at Palmer's or wherever.
No. Exactly.
I don't think the bar at Palmer's could handle more than 3 people on stage anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I always end up dancing in the bar. Just move over.
I heard a good story about Phantom Tales. Their a kind of keyboardist had to actually set up on the bar because there wasn't room for him on stage. And
That's hilarious.
He felt really awkward standing on the bar with his
I loved it.
set.
I don't know if I could do it with a keyboard, but
Yeah.
Dang, I liked slipping around on the very not safe bar and hoping to God I'd crowd surf at some point.
Yeah, I know. I saw Sal Paradise at Palmer's, and I know their keyboardist said he had two at one point. He had like a synth and like a regular just like keyboard, and he's like, we just had no room. I was like, that's hilarious.
At that point, where do you go
Exactly.
at Palmer's? It's like, I guess I'll set up on the stairs. Like,
Yeah, I'll sit in front of everybody.
Right.
Yeah. Cody, you mentioned you working on like mixing Husband and Lord Master. Do you mix like for other stuff, or is that kind of your primarily work on like the Wax Led stuff?
I've done some other things. I went to school for sound.
Gotcha.
And I had mixed a couple friends' bands and albums and some songs I'd written myself, and I like mixing. It's magical, what can be done, but I've kind of stepped back from it because it's lonely work, and I'm only productive at a computer for a few hours a week before I start wasting time. So I try not to do too many other things now. I kind of, I like engineering, I like producing, and I'll mix Wax Led, but it would be nice to find somebody who shares some of my sensibilities, who could do it faster than me. Because I'm also just not the best. I have some good ideas, but I'm not. I don't live it and breathe it every day.
Yeah, I know. I started out before moving over to other things as an audio production guy. And just being able to sit in like a dark, lonely room for like 7 hours is just something I couldn't do.
Yeah.
Like, all right, and Netflix.
it's too long.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I do live sound to kind of pay the bills. And that's fun. I love working with people, and I think it's made me a little bit better mixing in the studio. But yeah, I'd still like to find somebody to work with on our recording mixes.
Did you, with like recording, because Honey on the Moon, I saw in again liner notes, it was recorded at a different space than like Husband, Lord, and Master? Did you find like that those different people who have kind of similar mindset when putting that song to tape or to digital?
That was KFAI, right?
Yeah.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah.
DJ Mercury invited us to record a set for her show, She's in Control, Halloween 2018. And they were actually, the radio station was able to provide a small off-site recording session.
Okay.
So we recorded 4 songs, and it was Color Wheel Studios in North Minneapolis. And boy, it was just so nice to have somebody else to set up the mics and look at the screen, so I didn't have to try to perform and do that. So I think just having other people on hand made it much better, and it was a lot of fun. And then somehow I talked them into giving us the multi-tracks after it aired.
Nice.
And what these guys at Color Wheel captured, just throwing up some mics in a room quick on a little IBM ThinkPad was really great. They got good sounds, and so we just re-recorded the vocals.
Yep.
Added another layer of guitar. I remixed it, and we had it mastered at our usual place. I'll probably. I think we'll probably work with Color Wheel again.
Is that? I didn't realize that was like a because I know it was put out in collaboration with KFAI, and was it some sort of. My words are failing me. Sorry.
It's the morning. Well, probably
Well,
not anymore, but
it's very rare for anyone to share multi-tracks of something they recorded. So we were so grateful that we, I wanted to make our release show a benefit for KFAI.
Yeah.
And they've also been going through some hardships lately, so it was a good time to do that. But it wasn't an official, they didn't, ask us to put out a recording or
Gotcha, okay. You said you've earlier you mentioned that you had been sitting on parts of Honey on the Moon for a long time. What was it like to just finally get that out? Because you said you brought it in and it vibed with Evan and then John Hastings, right?
Oh, Joe Hastings.
Yeah, I just think Hastings 3000.
That's him.
What was it like to finally get that down and get it out? Because sitting on a piece of any piece of content for a long time is just always kind of infuriating.
I don't know. It was really cool. I think sometimes it's dangerous to drag things around too long. Sometimes they should just be let go. But those bass parts, it's kind of one of the first things I had written with some major chords in the chorus, and and I always thought it was, I don't know, it had a cool intensity to it, and it also really wouldn't have happened without Holly. What's really cool about
thanks.
What Holly and I do is we kind of let each other do things that we haven't been able to do in other ways.
Cool.
Holly is okay with me figuring out how to play guitar and singing a little bit from time to time. And
we try to, at least writing music together is difficult to begin with, just because you're, bearing your soul to another person or a group of people, and it's always a little bit awkward when you're sharing that piece of you and it's new and it's sort of unfermented and maybe even unready to be exposed sometimes, and just sort of supporting each other in that sort of creative endeavor is so powerful. Just to be like, yeah, whatever comes out, we'll work with it. Or if you want to sing on something, let's make it happen. Just saying yes, I feel like fuels so much more potential and self-esteem and the ability to carry the song to the full capacity it can be pulled out of. It helps to be in a supportive group environment like that. So I say yes to project that yes when it comes back to me. Hopefully I get the yeses to do the same things. I hope we do that for everybody in Waxled, just the ability to do stuff that maybe you couldn't in another band, or you never tried something you wanted to. It's, music is why not? You're not going to make any money anyways. Might as well, expose yourself to new things you might be great at. I don't know. Yeah. So hopefully we do that as a venue for each other.
Were the words for Honey on the Moon also in that story that it tells? Was that also floating around with the other parts that were just kind of waiting to come out?
I had written lyrically the words to that for a couple of different songs I had wrote by myself that are not memorable or good. And I think when we were trying to start Waxled, I kind of went home and played acoustic guitar that was untuned and made a couple of drunk recordings. And I was like, all right, band, here we go. This is what I made. And I remember Cody just listening to one of them, the Honey on the Moon, the original one with my words, and then sort of my crappy guitar riff that was out of tune. And you're like, Holly, you only have 2 ideas here. This is not really going to be a song. And so I'm more of a lyricist. I can't write music fluidly yet, or I don't think I can. So for me, writing, verbally is more my cup of tea. I can do that. I know I'm good at it. And so I sort of have this giant moleskin that I've dragged around for a couple years that has just all my dumb thoughts written down there. So, finally we had that song sort of coming together, and I was like, oh, finally a venue for these lyrics that I wrote maybe a year ago at that point. And it just totally fit like a perfect glove. It was really good. So different thing, but it melded well.
Tell me a little bit about the story and what the words are talking about on Honey on the Moon, because it's very you wrote some thoughts that you sent to us when we initially wrote about it, but it's just very very driven, very when focus becomes obsession. It's very very interesting to see the progression throughout that song. Just kind of tell me about the story and what those words are talking about.
I think I was on this rampage at some point because I had been working in an office and I have a whole lot of these dumb food allergies, and I was just so tired of having to explain like why I have to not eat like a sandwich. So I was just mad about how human beings have kind of just made our food bad, and like I don't know. So I kind of had this weird obsessive moment where I was just writing on this topic for a while of how we've sort of raped and pillaged everything wonderful on Earth, and it's sort of become this monstrous thing that's sort of becoming, I don't know, like this ecological problem now where we've kind of screwed the world and we can't unscrew it now.
No,
so
yeah.
It's funny that you turned your food allergies into a song about.
Oh yeah,
like,
it always has to be about me.
Into a song about colonialism.
Yeah,
I was like,
amazing how that works.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Human beings, we're so responsible for everything. And
Yeah.
living in a world that's sort of a piece of that's been turned into this evil that has really just been part of humanity from the beginning. Like, here I am, I'm smarter than you, I'm going to take this.
Yeah.
It still continues, and even at Walmart and Cup Foods.
Yeah. How did you get connected? Because with Luna Honey to put out the split, because you, again, I saw like the release about it. You kind of just like, you had the song kind of worked out, and you went and ended up seeing them perform somewhere, and from there it kind of, now we have the Honey on the Moon, or the Luna Honey Wax Lead split we have now. Tell me about that story.
Well, our former drummer is in a band called Partition, and their singer Taylor had posted on Facebook a year or two ago, does anyone want to put out a split 7-inch who's not in Minnesota? And I was like, that's a good idea to, I don't know, just reach a little further. So I'd been thinking about that, and we had just written this song, Luna Honey, and we went to Eagles 34 in Seward neighborhood, and to see, it's not Another Heaven, it's, what was it, their other band, Subtle Beast?
I can't remember if it was Subtle Beast or Ego Death or what.
No, it was Subtle Beast, okay. and then Luna Honey was playing after them. They were supporting them on tour, and it was just great to see this weird, strange band, and I don't know, we connected and had a great time talking with them, and helped them get some tickets to a Nick Cave show a couple months later that our friend was selling.
Bonded hard on Nick Cave, just saying.
Yeah. But I mean, it was really, so I mean, I was sort of looking for somebody who'd be interested in doing a split, and then
the seed had been planted. So.
And then we had just written this song, Honey on the Moon,
that night.
And within a week or two.
I thought it was the same. Well, my memory wants to romanticize it as the same day.
Yeah. and then we saw a band called Luna Honey. So, and they were down with the idea, and they have two of the members run a label in DC called Blight Records, and they have 30-some releases. And
that's what our split is.
Yeah, so our split is, officially on Blight Records, and it was really nice to work with them.
Yeah, totally.
And they put together these vellum inserts,
it's
and
beautiful.
They kind of pushed for the clear smoke vinyl. So it just made it a really nice project.
Is this the first time you've been put to vinyl then as a band?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a weird, beautiful feeling. Yeah.
Because we were talking to Ahem, and just like you can put out CDs and some other stuff, but there's something about vinyl that is somewhat magical.
It feels official.
Yeah.
It's creepy. It's awesome. I love it. But it's like I buy random, vinyl at Cheapo, and I'm like, maybe I'm part of it now. It's cool.
Go through the dollar bin at the back to see what you can find, see what color cover is the coolest.
Exactly. That's how I do music. I'm like, that looks good. I'm going to buy that.
I'm kind of, I really like CDs. I like, I don't know, the kind of digital clarity, but I think it's just cool to have a variety of formats and kind of cover everything. And I grew up with punk 7 inches, and it's nice to since people are so weird about how they listen to music, and it's kind of hard to sell physical music. Just having tapes, digital and vinyl, is, I don't know.
Having the options is really
helps
nice.
it helps it go a little further.
Yeah, and there is something about having physical copies of your music. Like, to me, whenever I would buy vinyl or CDs, even just looking and touching and reading the liner notes and the lyrics, I was so invested in looking at the tangible material that came with it, that it's so wonderful to be on all these different physical things now, because it's wonderful. It reminds me of when I was buying music and wanting to make music. Yeah, it's just so involved. You get to touch and read the lyrics and think about it and interpret it on your own and see the pictures of everybody in the band.
Well, you can also touch your phone to go to Spotify.
Yeah, pretend you didn't say that. Yeah, all right.
It's not the same though.
It's not the same.
Awesome. So moving away kind of from the music slightly, you have a zine called Dark Times, which is put out through or in collaboration with She's in Control. Tell me about that, or how is that put together? Because I knew you were like connected to it, and then when I was at the zine fair they had at the Hennepin Public Library, they produce it, and kind of, so I was like, where are the connections and the string, and kind of how does that kind of all come together? And tell me about it, because zines are always something I've always been fascinated with, but know almost nothing about.
Well, so DJ Mercury, Aurora, walked up to Holly at a Gothfest night and said, "Hey, you want to start a zine?" And
okay, well, we know each other. We're quite tight with her. She's like one of my best friends. So,
but the idea, she presented.
But she presented the idea
at a bar,
to me.
And it went from bar talk to publication in 5 weeks.
It was incredible. Wow. Yeah, I don't know. She gets stuff done. I like the idea, and I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Because I'm an artist. I do all the illustrative fronty crap and the inside fluff, and to me that's all I wanted to do. I don't want to write anything.
Right, yeah.
So I was like, yeah, you want me to embellish it? Great. But I don't know, that was kind of my limitation with it. So Cody was kind of able to put a little more organization into it, and he had done zine things in the past, so he had a little bit of a framework to work on and knew exactly how to print everything so it'd come out in order, which me and Aurora, as two millennials, were like trying to figure out for way too long. So yeah, we're really involved. We sit in a room together, and we look through all the emails of people sending us art and poetry, and we put it all together and print it out together. And
you're asking us about this at an awkward time, because the November issue is now 10 days late.
No, it's not. No one knew that until you just said it. You don't have to tell people that, Cody. That's that was our secret. We could say oh, it's coming. Just got to be ready for it,
it's out
guys.
November. It's still the November issue.
Exactly. So. That's how I read my Cosmo, dude. Yeah, I'm like, oh, what? Hey, I'm in line at the grocery store, and it happens to be out.
October. I think we all got sick.
We all got sick.
Aurora went out of town twice, and we played 4 shows.
We played so many shows because it's. Goth Christmas, come on. So we played a lot. We were so busy, and we just didn't get time to all get together and put in the time to really make something we were going to be proud of. So it's still happening.
I'm kind of excited about this show we're playing on Friday, the 15th at Mortimer's. This band from Dallas is coming up called Rose Garden Funeral Party. And I just saw on their page that they do a zine too.
We're not the only ones,
so,
right?
I'm kind of excited to see another traveling dark band with a zine. Yeah. And I'm excited to get the next issue out. I think I originally just came on board to write a column,
to crack the whip,
and then
write the column.
Since I had made some zines in the past and I had a printer, I kind of got involved with layout. So yeah, I think Holly and I and Aurora work pretty well together.
Yeah, as soon as Cody leaves the room, we get to joke around, and then he comes back, and we're like,
Fun
we're
stuff,
working, Cody.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what do you find it? Because it's like it's more than like it has a bunch of stuff in it. There's poetry and there's illustrations and there's a calendar that has just a ton of like stuff. So what do you find within the Dark Times if someone's not aware of it or?
Just a scene where it's it doesn't just have to be going out and listening to music.
Mm-hmm.
The calendar is a good part of the zine, but we kind of wanted to extend this opportunity to be part of a culture that hasn't really been tied together yet.
Yeah.
Almost like our band, we don't really fit into anything, so we're trying to expand this umbrella where everyone can kind of feel welcome. And there's no real collective dark anything here. So it's very nice to be able to put things on the calendar and involve different artists who are writers and illustrators and different, I don't know, all sorts of different things. We have a couple radio shows.
I mean, there's more dark music in Minneapolis right now than I've ever seen. I've been in town since 2003, so I think there's things to write about, and then people are kind of starting to connect, but there could be more. It's kind of nice with the calendar and the Dark Times to sort of like collect the shoegaze shows and the industrial shows and the death rock shows and kind of put them all in one place and give whoever wants to contribute an opportunity. We have more work to do with outreach and distribution. It's a lot of work putting this together every month, but the thing that makes me excited is just to foster community.
And was that the spot you needed filled with this? Because I was wondering where you see, because a lot of zines I've read about, they always see some sort of need that they can fill with it. What was that need then, that be able to draw it all together, stuff like that, or?
Yeah, and like when you said you saw the Crush Velvet music video and you had no idea there was, kind of this dark goth thing going on. That's kind of what the zine is for. It's like, if you liked that, here's something else you can go and see and possibly enjoy and, expand that world for you and everyone else who, maybe hasn't been invited on Facebook to a certain show or doesn't know what it's going to sound like, so they don't want to leave their house yet. It sort of like involves people that maybe just haven't known the right places to go to experience it. So, yeah, I don't know. Or just, being invited without an invitation from someone you know. You can just pick up the Dark Times and know you're already invited in some weird way. So,
where can people find it outside of? Because you sell it online, right? Or is it?
We should.
Yeah. Or is it? Where can people find it if they want to be able to look for it?
Sorry.
We have them all at Extreme Noise Records on Lake Street. We had the first one in Hard Times Cafe, but they're trying to sort of phase out their little consignment booth with products and records. So I guess the library. Yeah. So right now it's at Extreme Noise. It's at our Bandcamp page, waxled.bandcamp.com, and it's at our shows. It's also at some Goth-S events because DJ Mercury is involved with them, and we do a monthly release, usually at the on the 31st or the 1st of a month. We'll try to latch on to some sort of Dark Sider event in town, whether it's Strange Girls or the Zine Fest or something, and make that our release show. I'd like to get it in libraries. I understand libraries are having little zine sections now. I'd also like to, I think somebody who works at the Book House in Dinkytown invited us to bring it in. So we have some more work to get it out there. And we should probably offer subscriptions too, so people don't have to hide and seek every month.
Yeah. But I mean, we're out and about a lot, so we do kind of carry these around with us.
So yeah, Joe, if you ever I don't know, want to do any collaboration with Ear Coffee or have like a partial interview, also appear in Dark Times or something like a transcript or
cool.
Yeah.
Please let us know.
Yeah, we can talk about that a little after. So I wanted to ask kind of before as we wrap up here. One of the big questions is there a debut full-length record for Wax Led in the works or coming on the horizon?
We were just talking about this with our drummer like a night ago, maybe two.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd like to get something out in April.
Okay.
I'm a Taurus, and I move kind of slow. We have a
struggle.
we have a bunch of songs in the can, and we're sort of in this awkward position where some of our songs are rather old now, and have past members on it, and the new guys want to have something out that represents them. So we might do something that's sort of half old songs, half new songs. We might do. We might just get the older songs out there quick and easy on a cassette or something, and record a bunch of new stuff with the new guys.
My dream is to start fresh and just spend the winter writing and recording. But I understand that I am in a band with a Taurus, so.
Well, I want to do that too, but I also want to the songs that we have in the can are still worthy songs and deserve to be out there somehow.
Yeah.
But I don't want to put them up on a flagpole and say this is who we are right now because we've changed.
Well, much like Husband, Lord, Master, you talk about how you want that very definitive statement, and an EP is one thing, and a full length record is another. Is this is our full release kind of a thing. So I understand kind of that. I know when we were talking to Partition, Taylor said that they have so much music as their back that they're we don't know where to put it and how to put it out because you want to obviously get the old stuff out because you've written it and sat on it, but also you want to show what the band is now. Yeah.
And I think we're in a pretty solid lineup at this point, but we've written so many songs, and it would be nice to record them all, but I also I do feel torn like they do, deciding what stays and what goes and what's relevant to you and speaks to this year in the band's existence. So interesting that we'll have to sort of file through those thoughts and figure out what to really do without over
one thing that makes it hard is our arrangements are so different. We have one song that's this noisemaker making a 15 hertz square wave the whole time, and all these horrible affected instruments, and then we don't just have 12 songs that are guitar bass drums that we can record with one microphone setup and kind of mix them all from the same template. Every mix and every recording is I don't know, a little ridiculous. So it takes more time.
I think if we just walked into a studio that wasn't our house, we'd find it would be quite simple. But also that requires money, which we don't have very much of. So
well, looking at the sort of digital world and way bands are doing things now, I think it's not a bad way to go to put the money into recording first and worry about the physical releases second. It's doing a steady stream of singles on Spotify and digital outlets is not a bad way to go and gets a fair amount of press and notice that way.
Cool. Sorry, not to change the subject, but we do have a music video coming out quite soon.
Oh, really? Is that for Honey on the Moon?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's taken a little bit of time, but we recorded a thing during the full moon on Friday the 13th in September.
It's a brutal day to film, but yes, we did.
Who did you work with to film that video?
His name's Matty Lang.
Okay.
And it was it put together pretty quick, and but I'm excited just to kind of it was kind of right after we stabilized the new lineup.
We played a show in the park, and hung out with him for a little bit. He happened to show up and talk to us.
Yeah, we played by the Stone Arch Bridge for music and movies in the park,
which was an experience.
And Maddie lived in some artist studios across the street and caught our set. He's an old friend, so
and he's quite a good filmmaker. So so far I'm very excited for it. So it should be coming out soon.
Yeah.
No permanent date.
We're looking forward to the video for that and this show on Friday the 15th at Mortimer's.
Awesome. So then what does the rest of kind of then 2019 and early 2020, because this episode probably won't come out until the front half of December. So what does the rest of like December 2019, early 2020, if you've thought that far ahead?
Oh yeah. Oh boy.
Joe Hastings sort of made a good point last year that in Minnesota, playing live shows from January to mid-March tends to sort of kill morale.
Don't do it.
Oh, really?
It's
rough to move your gear on a slippery slope, and it's cold.
It's so cold. It's so hard to get people out. Any show could, there's a 50% chance of just having your crowd stay home because there's a blizzard.
Polar Vortex 2.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And, that was kind of one of these common sense insights were one of the cool learning things working with Joe Hastings.
Shows wise in ways.
Over the years, my music career has been a little less consistent, and it's like, I have a band and I'm excited to just jump on stage, and I have just booked shows whenever, and been bewildered by, wow, that one was really good. Oh, that one was a little sleepy, and Joe has really done things consistently and is aware of those little trends, like our winters are horrible.
January sucks. Yeah.
And also nuances like, people go out a lot in the spring, and then kind of by July they slow down a little bit and do the chill backyard barbecue thing. So last, he typically would go on vacations, and I kind of had to badger him into playing shows with us last winter.
He did badger.
And then I realized he was right, that, those shows in January, February, early March are just tough.
They were hard. Yeah.
So we'll probably hibernate a bit and sleep. We are, I think we only have a couple shows solid right now, is this one on next Friday, and then December 27th. We're playing a zine release for somebody else's zine at the Black Forest. And then hopefully just finish some of these new songs, do some recording, and get an album out in April.
Nice. Well, awesome. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much, Joe.
Yeah.
The Ear Coffee Podcast is a companion to the blog of the same name. If you like this episode, please leave us a rate and review so we can stand out among the other music podcasts. You can follow us at Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram @EarCoffee. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.